Welcome to Cloud Podcast. This will be the first episode in English because I'm talking with Carlos from Mattermost today. I would like to apologize for all wrong grammar or mispronunciation. I'm not a native English speaker, but I will try my very best. If you haven't heard of Mattermost, it's the open source alternative to Slack, I think, a collaboration chat platform which you can host for your own, but also at mattermost.com. Carlos, nice to have you on this podcast. What are your favorite messengers so far beside Mattermost?
Hello, nice to be here. And I need to apologize myself first because besides I live in here in Germany, I'm not very good native German speaker. I'm trying my best, but for a podcast I cannot speak like a properly German. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I think I need a few more years to get like a good German to speak. Today I can speak only with my children's, and every time I speak with my children, they said, "Okay, Daddy, you need to improve your German."
Is there any German word which is difficult for you just now?
There is one right now, but I cannot pronounce it because it's the big one. Like it's related to the famoust as well.
Okay.
Okay, but answer your question like about my favorite messages besides Mattermost. I have a fun story about that because 4 years ago we were using HipChat, which I really like HipChat in that time. In a company here in Germany, it's called Here Maps. And one day, the security guys from the company came to our team room and they said, "Okay, guys, you cannot use more this tool because this is hosted outside the company and the data that we are producing here is going to somewhere. We don't know. We need to shut down this. And if you guys need like a messaging chat system, you need to find something is hosted inside the company or using the existing tools we have, which in that time was Skype for business." And we didn't like. And then I start looking other options, and then eventually I found Mattermost at that time. And for me, for working stuff, Mattermost is I cannot say, but before that was the first option for me, and then Slack, but Slack more for open work, not more for related work. And other messages I really like is the applications in the cell phone. I really use Telegram and WhatsApp. I'm trying to shut down WhatsApp, but my family in Brazil, they use a lot WhatsApp. Then it's hard to say then, okay, let's switch to Telegram. But I really like Telegram. Yeah, I really like Telegram because in the way they offer also extensibility. You can write some bots or plugins to Telegram, and I really like that.
Okay, great. So you fell a little bit in love with Mattermost at your former company. And what are you doing right now at Mattermost?
Okay, at Mattermost right now, we are working in another product we are launching at the end of the year to help the customers to adopt a little bit faster Mattermost. And I'm most focusing on using Mattermost on Kubernetes because now everybody is using Kubernetes, right?
And is it so?
Yeah, they say that, right? And actually Kubernetes, it's a very nice fit for Mattermost because I think we have some other, we can talk later, but giving a quick stuff. Mattermost is very easy to deploy, like in on-premises stuff. Like for example, you need to have just a machine and that's it. But moving that to Kubernetes makes it a little easier for us and to users to deploy and manage the deployments. And that is my focus now is moving Mattermost to Kubernetes and make that very cloud native and get the best from Kubernetes inside Mattermost as well.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit in short, what's Mattermost and what's great about Mattermost?
I think Mattermost, it's like an open source collaboration tool. Most people say messaging or chat. We say like collaboration tool because in Mattermost we use our tool we discuss everything we are doing in terms of like new features or even in the operation side. Like I work also in the operation part of that. We have some services to run. And we use extensively Mattermost to receive alerts, to notify us new things, to detect like outage and other stuff. And Mattermost is really nice. For example, from the day one I start working for Mattermost, I open my email for the company email like maybe once a month, once a week sometimes, because all the communication we are talking is via Mattermost in the company around, right? I like the only stuff I need to keep my mail open for these days is to like receive your message we speak, because I didn't integrate my mail inside Mattermost. We have these options as well.
Okay, great. Can you tell me a little bit about the differences from mattermost.com and .org? So it's open source, but is it technically different if I use enterprise or if I use the open source channel?
Yeah. Okay. You mean when we mean mattermost.com and mattermost.org, you mean the websites?
I mean the differences between enterprise and open source. What's the difference?
Okay. Yeah, we have good question. We have two offerings, right? One we call it Mattermost Team Edition, which is completely free. You can download in the GitHub or via our hosting packages. You can download, you can install, you can use for free forever. There is no limitations. There is nothing. Everything is there. We have the other part. We call it Mattermost Enterprise Edition, and this is they have license. The users need to pay the license, and it's meant to be like to enterprises or medium big companies to use, because it have some like enterprise features. For example, LDAP synchronization, compliance logs, auditing logs, and all the other stuff, which maybe some make no sense for the team edition. And this is the basic difference between the two. In terms of code, the team edition is completely open source. You can check in the GitHub repository. The only part is, and we provide two packages, right, to install Mattermost. One is the Team Edition one, which is based on the GitHub and is completely open source. And the other is the package is the Enterprise, which is based on the Team Edition plus some enterprise features, which is like closed source. This is the main big difference. There is some conversation we are doing, like to see how can we open source these enterprise features. But this is like some discussions ongoing. I don't have any updates on that side.
Okay, so you don't use Mattermost like, for example, Nextcloud, which says, okay, we give you the whole software as open source, but only support is a paid feature. So you have decided that some features like LDAP or SAML, I think, are paid features.
Yeah, but if you don't need those features, you don't need to pay. Like you can use the same feature. This is only the extra features in the Enterprise Edition, right? All the other features are in the open source as well.
Okay.
For example, if you want to, we have the concept of plugins. You can develop a plugin to enhance your Mattermost. For example, we have plugins to connect to GitHub, to GitLab, to I guess to Microsoft Office, the package from the Microsoft Office. I don't know if we have for Dropbox and other ones, but it's not hard to build one, and this integrates with other systems, and then you can use that. It doesn't matter if it's the enterprise version or if it's the team edition version. You can use the plugin system to enhance your Mattermost itself.
You have told us a little bit about integrations to Mattermost. Can you explain what are the famous or popular integrations of Mattermost which are used often?
Yeah, I think that the most famous ones is the GitHub one, because it integrates your GitHub organization, for example, or any repo you want to watch inside Mattermost. And that means, for example, you receive in your sidebar, you have like how many PRs you have open, how many PRs you need to review, what if you have an assignment to like take a look. And if you have notifications, you receive everything in Mattermost. You don't need to open GitHub and see what's your notification, which PRs you need to know. You get like everything inside Mattermost. And if someone make a mention at you in the GitHub comment, you receive this mention, and then you can read everything there, and you can click and they open the PR for you, and then you can like approve or not approve and do all the work you need to do using Mattermost. Others integrations that we use a lot is the Jitsi and Zoom plugins. That is like if you like in this time we are doing a lot of Zoom meetings, and also Mattermost itself is a remote company. Everybody works remotely across the entire world, and then we use extensively the Zoom meetings and the Jitsi meetings as well. And there is a button in all the channels and all the channels and private messages. You just press that button to start a meeting, and it opens it posts a message to the other users can click in the Zoom meeting or the Jitsi meeting. It opens the Zoom for you, and then you start your meeting. The other integration like we use a lot, that is one that's the to-do, which is very simple. For example, if someone posts a message to you and you want to schedule that as like this message I need to work on, but not today, maybe tomorrow. You can schedule this to do for yourself, or you can assign that stuff to another person, and then they redirect that to the other user as well. Yeah, we have like a lot of integrations and plugins. This is the only I mentioned about plugins, because you can integrate any type of application or service, not using only plugins, but you can use incoming webhooks and outgoing webhooks, similar that Slack does. And if you have anything that you already use for Slack, you can just point the webhook integration to Mattermost, and it starts working. It's like it's compatible with the existing incoming webhooks in Slack. You just point into Mattermost and start using. You don't need to change anything, actually. There is this 4 ways to integrate with Mattermost. We're using incoming or outgoing webhooks, using / commands, and using the plugin system we developed to increase more the Mattermost utilization.
Great. You have described us using Mattermost in an IT context for IT purposes. Can you name a few contexts or purposes of Mattermost where clients are using it? So, for example, at traveling agencies, or what are common uses of Mattermost?
What I can say is like I saw that in the past for some banking usage, they are like using in a bank, and then the employees of the bank was talking to each other department by department. And for example, if someone posts like a secret, like for example a bank account or like a credit card account, then we there is some like plugins that those customers developed to like intercept that, detect, okay, this is like a credit card that cannot be exposed in the post in the channel, that the plugin removes and like encode or remove the digits and make just XXX and then post the message. This is some stuff that the companies, like it's not IT, is doing to use Mattermost, like to enhance the usage, right? And detect like some abuse on other stuff. For example, there is others. I heard that they have like some plugins to in top of Mattermost to like if people are messaging offensive words or not being polite enough, the system can detect and report back to the administrator or even block the account for the user and do this type of stuff as well.
You have named Slack as one alternative to Mattermost. Can you explain a little bit what are the differences between Mattermost and Slack or Microsoft Teams, which are the popular Business One applications?
Right. Yeah, this is my personal opinion. I think all this, including other collaboration tools, it's most similar, right? Because the basic idea is like posting message, read message in channels, create threads, and do all this collaborative work. I think the main difference between Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Mattermost itself is Mattermost is, besides the fact it's open source, the people can read the code. It's there. There is no like hiding secrets. Is the way that Mattermost is, you can get the code, you can get the binary, and deploy in your organization inside your on-premise or in your own AWS account, for example. And that means we, as Mattermost itself, we don't have access to this data, and then we don't know what the customers are doing, right? And this is, I think, is a little bit is the winning point. If your company doesn't like you have like some rules, you cannot expose data. Like for example, the example I give in the beginning, we work in a company that we didn't know, but we are using the other tool. It's going data outside the company, and this is like a no go. And then Mattermost came to solve this problem because it was inside the company and like protected by VPNs or firewalls, and the data stays inside the company, not going outside, and might have other third-party users like reading the message, the content that you produce, right? I think this is the main big difference.
Yes, you have named a few installation methods. What's the best way to install Mattermost currently, and what do I need to run Mattermost?
As I said before, Mattermost is very simple to deploy. If you think like a small, let's start talking about like a small community. For example, the cloud podcast community, you can build your own Mattermost instance, and for that you might have like just a small machine. I have a colleague of mine working in Mattermost. He have his own Mattermost deployment for his community in Spain, and he used like a Raspberry Pi for that. And I think they have around 50, 60 users using, and they just have a Raspberry Pi. That is very simple and easy to deploy, right? But if you want to put in a machine, like in a Intel on a PC, like let's say I used to have one for me using AWS, and it was like a T2 small, which is I think if I'm not wrong, is one CPU and 2 gigs of memory, and this to run Mattermost plus the database, and was just that, was not serving a lot of users, was like I guess just my family and some friends, was around like 30, 40 people, but this can scale a little bit for more users as well. If you want to deploy for a company usage, like for a small company usage, you might need just I would say a reverse proxy, like for example Nginx in front, just to protect better your accessing. You have one machine for the Mattermost itself and another for the database. You can put in another one just to protect better and not have everything in one machine, but then splitting in 2 machines. But this is the basic stuff you need, like a reverse proxy if you want, the Mattermost itself in one machine and a database in another, and that's it.
What database engines are suitable with Mattermost?
Today we support both MySQL and Postgres, and you can choose between the two to use. If you think in a cloud providers, for example AWS, you can use Aurora RDS or even Aurora with the engine MySQL, or even Aurora with the engine of Postgres as well.
And which installation
choose these two.
method do you recommend? Is it a binary or a Docker image?
Yeah, it depends. Like, if you ask myself, if I recommend, I would say go to a Docker image, and then you can use Kubernetes to deploy and manage that stuff for you. But if you are a small company or a small set of users and you don't have Kubernetes cluster, you also can use the Docker Swarm and deploy that in a Docker Swarm and using containers. If you don't know how to use that, you can just deploy the binary. That's people are deploying these 3 different ways, and I think it's the best if the user decide which one they have is more comfortable in doing the deployment. I personally prefer the container one because it's a bit easier to manage, and I would say can go with the Kubernetes one solution.
So if I understood you right, it's possible to scale up the Mattermost application server itself. How can I do this at on-premise?
Yeah, if you have, for example, on-premise and deploy in a machine, not in a container, you might want just to add another machine in deploy Mattermost and set up the HA mode. But this option is only available on the enterprise edition part, not on the team edition. The team edition is just a single instance. You cannot add more instance for that.
Okay. How many users can I handle with one machine, theoretically?
Yeah, it depends of the size of the machine, but let's say 2 CPUs and 4 gigs of memory, I would say more than 1,000 users. It's very suitable for that.
So Mattermost is very, very unhungry on resources, and perhaps if I have a machine with 8 cores and 32 gigabyte memory, then I can handle up to 10,000 users, or is there a limit where you would recommend to do it with Docker or Kubernetes?
Yeah, I don't have this information top of my head, but I think there is the documentation in the Mattermost documentation part that explains everything. Just to give it, an example, in our community instance that we use to work and contributors in the community can access and discuss stuff there as well. We are running on Kubernetes on a T2 medium machine, which is 4 CPUs and 8 gigs of memory. And this Kubernetes cluster have other stuff installed as well. And we have, let me get the actual number here. We have around 10,000 users running.
Okay, great. Is there any recommended distro which I should use? For example, Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, or anything like that?
We are not very opinionated on this part. That depends of the how comfortable is the user.
Okay.
If you are more comfortable in deploying in Debian, you can go with Debian.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more about your development cycle? So we are talking really technically at the moment. How do you work together at Mattermost to develop new features?
Yeah, well, we have a cadence of releases every month. And for example, this month, we are in August, and on August 16th, we are going to release Mattermost version 5.26, which means that all numbers ending by 2, 4, 6, 8, it's like the feature release, we call it. And on this, we have every, and then in the other releases is just the bug fixing and more fixing releases. Okay, we do this every month, and if you think about every 2 months we have feature release, and in between we have bug fixes release. This is being working for like the past 2 years. We are doing like this. Before that, we was releasing every 3 months. We decided to start releasing every month, but we got some customers complain we are developing and adding features too fast, and they want to slow down a bit. But today we are doing in this way, and the cycle. The program managers decide what is the features for the following release, and the teams start working on the tickets to address that. And then during this cycle, during the month, we have the QA team and some other teams working in the testing and checking. We do some release candidates as well to validate the features, and the community can work as well. Like we have some community joining and getting the releases to try out and reporting bugs and finding bugs, and then we fix and in that release cycle as well.
Can you name how many people are currently developing on Mattermost?
That's a tough question. I would say because the company grows a lot in the past year, and I would say a year and a half ago was around 20 developers, including QA and program managers doing the work. And now we are like a little bit bigger than that. I would say, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 nowadays, including other parts, because now we are split the engineering team in several specialized teams. The teams are more focused on the parts of the Mattermost itself. For example, we have one team focused on the web app. We have another team focused on the mobile app, both for Android and iOS. We have another team focused on the performance of Mattermost. They load testing the Mattermost and make improvements on that. We have other teams focusing more on the enterprise features, and other teams focus more on the plugins and integrations. We split that. It's
Okay,
I would say 40 people around that nowadays.
no, sounds great. What was the last great feature you developed at Mattermost? In your opinion?
My opinion, I guess that the last big one was quite some time ago, but was the introducing these plugin options that you can extend Mattermost using the plugin system. This allows us to extend Mattermost to add more stuff. For example, I named it before, like the GitHub plugin, the GitLab, and other plugins we have already in the marketplace.
So a plugin management within Mattermost itself.
Yeah, I'd say let me see if I remember another one. Yeah, we have a page that people can take a look, like it's the mattermost.com/roadmap, and then we can see how what we are doing now, what's gonna be the next, and later in the future. For example, now we are working on the Microsoft 365 calendar integration, that you can integrate your Office inside Mattermost and have the calendar. You can, for example, schedule the meetings in Mattermost instead of going to the other application. And for the next, just to give you like one, we are doing like some visual improvements in the user interface to become a little bit nicer. And we are changing like support. We are adding support to the plugins in the mobile app as well, because today the plugins is not supported in the mobile, but as soon we add this feature, we have all the power of the plugins inside the mobile app as well.
Okay, so the next big features at Mattermost roadmap are plugin features at mobile app, and the second one was UI improvements.
Yeah, and we have a lot of other stuff here. For example, I can see right now, like we are adding, for example, OneDrive integration, a lot of threading improvements, and like the biggest one that the enterprise companies is looking for is the incident response workflow, like how to handle incidents and how to respond. And this workflow is being built to you define your workflow, and then inside Mattermost, and then when you need to deal with an incident, they help you to address that communication and the response.
Okay, you've told me a little bit about integrations, and OneDrive, I think, will be one of the feature integrations. Have you in mind Nextcloud as integration possibility on your roadmap? Because it's one of the biggest open source alternative to every business cloud file.
Yeah, if we don't have yet, because I'm not. I like to be very honest. I don't know what are all the plugins we already have in our marketplace, but we can take a look. But if it's not already exist, I think that the people are planning to add that as well. We just when I mean we are planning, but maybe that's the community as well already added that, and we don't know or we didn't receive, because this is the nice part of the open source as well, and the community we have. We have a lot of plugins we have in this ecosystem, which was not developed by us, by Mattermost itself. It's developed by the community members. For example, we have one plugin that integrates Mattermost with DigitalOcean, the one cloud provider, and this is handled by the community. It was not handled by us. For example, another one was the integration with Jenkins. Like you can create jobs, start jobs, get logs from Jenkins inside Mattermost. This was created by a community member as well, and not by Mattermost itself. I think Nextcloud, if it's not in the roadmap for a near future, I can take a look and see, but I think it's already in the roadmap. Just need to wait a bit.
Another question. How did you do at Corona lockdown? Was it really difficult to you, or are you working remotely per default?
Yeah, this is the question that my friends asked me, because at Mattermost, the entire company is remote. We don't have offices and stuff. Everybody or working from home, like in a home office way, or they work in a co-working space or something like that. And for me personally, I think for all the colleagues in Mattermost as well, was not that impacting us, because we are already used to do like remote work, and all this stuff was not like a big blocker for us.
Did you receive more customers during this time? Do you see that Mattermost, as one of the digital innovative collaboration platforms, is asked more from customers to be used?
Yeah, good question. We got a little bit more requests, and we as a company we also offer the like some consulting period, like to help people to deploy and deploy Mattermost itself. If you want to try out in the company to make it more better for the remote, this new way to work. And we got a few more requests from the customers and even from the community as well. They're asking, okay, I need to deploy this. How can I, if they can, we can help them to that.
You've explained a few tools which are you using internally, for example, GitHub for the open source community. Can you name a few more internal tools which you're using to organize your work?
Yeah, we use like GitHub. We use Jira for Atlassian. The Jira is, I think, is well known for by the IT departments, and we use Jira to create all the work we need to do and assign the tickets to the persons that are going to do the work. We also use Gitbook, which is a hosted platform to provide documentation, right? We use that as well. And we use the G Suite tools for like Google Docs and all the stuff.
Okay, sounds great and easy to handle, except Jira. I think Jira is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, we have a plugin in Mattermost for Jira, and I only access Jira to move my cards from uh, one lane to another one. But most of the time I use Jira inside Mattermost, because we got the tickets, we got the comments and everything there. You can create tickets, you can do whatever you want to do inside Mattermost. You no need to go to Jira to open stuff. You can do right away in Mattermost as well.
If someone would like to use Mattermost after hearing this podcast, what would be the easiest way to get a fast running Mattermost?
You can go to mattermost.com/download, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, /download, and then you can grab the release, and there is an installation guide, and you can just follow the guide. The guide is very simple. That's not it. Not like it's not hard. You just need to follow the guide, and that's it. If you want to use, for example, a container part, there is some documentation around that. You just download and run some Docker commands, like Docker run. We have like a repo called Mattermost-Docker, which is a community-driven repository, and then they have options to use Docker Compose, Docker Swarm, ECS, and other services. It's very easy to like get started. I think if you use Docker, it will take like less than 15 minutes, or I would say much less than that. to have like a local instance of Mattermost to try out.
Carlos, thank you so far. If you could name a cloud product to be my next guest at the Cloud Podcast, about which product would you like to hear a little bit more?
I would say Jitsi, which is the Zoom alternative. It's a completely open source. And I would say this is a nice one.
Okay, thanks. I will do my very best. Greetings to Berlin and hope you're doing well.
Okay, thank you so much for having me today.